Well, that was quite the adventure with Matt and opening his packs. Like I said, we were kind of witnesses to his late Christmas opening. That's what you get when you leave an account and you don't do anything with it since the beginning of the year. You sit in rookie, you collect the perfect points, you get your login bonuses, and you get your streamer packs or you get your affiliate packs, and you just let it build and build. And he had over 1,300 packs from May. So I'm betting we're going to see a few more people try that out with a second or third account when the new version comes out. All right, our next guest, we got to get right on to it. For those of you that play quick tournaments, if you play Ace of Bronze or Live Bronze or Iron or Silver, we're going to focus today on the bronze, the Ace of Bronze tournament. A lot of times people reach out in Discord or they reach out to me or on my YouTube channel, and they want to know how they can improve in their tournaments. Lap, I get kicked out in the first round all the time. Or Lap, my cards suck. What can I do? And part of it's just like, well, all of our teams suck at some point. Like, there is no perfect recipe. I can't say these 26 cards are going to win you all of your tournaments. Not going to happen. There's a lot of randomness in it. But if you do a little bit of analysis and, models and statistical comparisons, you can find cards that are more likely to get some success in your tournaments. And today I am happy to add to the stream the one, the only Cobra, and you might recognize him from the chats of a lot of the affiliate streamers as he contributes to a lot of the chat activity. And I'm so pleased to have him on the channel today to talk about the bronze tournaments. So Cobra, how are you doing?
Oh, good afternoon. Welcome.
Hey, excellent. Good. And yes, you are not a Yankee fan, so I did not have to do the security check on you. So
no, my logo is actually not a baseball logo. It's I'm a huge Rolling Stones fan, and so I just found a picture of Keith and just stuck him on there. So anybody, that's not me playing the guitar. That's Keith.
You're a little bit younger and less wrinkly, I think, than this guy here.
I'm younger, definitely, for sure.
So tell us a little bit, Cobra, again, about your OOTP experiences. Tell the audience a little bit more about yourself and what brought you into Out of the Park baseball.
Sure. I'm in the I guess Gen X boomer generation. I'm going to be hitting 60 here the next year or two, and I started playing these baseball games back when I was a kid. We used to spend hours and hours and hours playing Status Pro, APA. What was the other one? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I mean, just hours and hours, rolling the dice, filling out the scorecards. And then I came across my old computer, Earl Weaver Baseball. And that was the old 5.5-inch floppy disk. You had a couple disks you popped in. And then I found OOTP out there, and I think it was version 7 or 8 or 6 or somewhere there. And I really didn't know how to play it. So I always played the 79 Pirates. I went into the editor, and Dave Parker would always hit 475 home runs, and Stargell and Easler. And then I kind of got another version of it. I think it was 12 or 13, then 14, 16. And I think 17 was my last version. And then I got it again. I think I got 20 or 21. And then I found out about Perfect Team and just started playing in 21. Got on the chat, on the Discord chat, and, just started asking questions because I had obviously no idea what I was doing. I mean, I would play guys that I thought were good that were just horrible, that I shouldn't be playing. And through a lot of advice and just saying, and asking questions, I kind of got better and better and better and better. And it's progressed to now we're in 23, and that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. Yeah. And I talked to a Cobra at length yesterday for a bit, and he told me he's really into the statistical part of the game. He loves the stats, he loves the numbers, and crunching everything together to try and come up with the best possible team. And just gonna share my screen for a second here, and let me just do this. Give me 1 minute. And we're going to focus on the bronze tournaments, and specifically the Ace of Bronze tournament, which a lot of you play, and it's tough. It's very competitive. You're lucky if you get a couple wins a week, a day, but we want to try and present, or Cobra is going to try and present, a better opportunity for you. So I just opened up one of my Ace of Bronze tournaments from earlier today. That's finished. My Gym Unknown Blue Jays, they play the Ace of Bronze. And just looking at the pitchers here, I know it might be a little tough to see, but my starting pitchers, 7.65 ERA, 7.26, 7.85, and 6.59. So 4 of them have an ERA over 6. Now, just looking at this and looking at my bullpen, who has a poor ERA as well, you would say this team got blown away. They didn't do very well. But when I look at the results, it actually made the finals. Here's a team out of 32 with an ERA looking like this for my pitchers that makes the finals and got me 5 packs. So your pitchers in an Ace of Bronze, and I'm sure Matt will talk about it, they're gonna have inflated ERAs. They're not going to be your 2.3 and your 3.1 ERAs a lot of time. You can have success with pitchers being blown away. So Matt, we're going to let's start with the pitchers. Anything you want to set up before I start showing your screenshots?
Check your DM.
Okay. Regarding pitchers, or
no, this just happened.
Oh, okay. We've got live breaking news. I won't show it on screen, but
it's fine.
Oh, okay.
It's in your Discord.
There. Congratulations. You just won the Ace of Bronze. Quick 8149. And that just happened at 2:38 Eastern Standard Time. I've talked about manifesting and craziness, choosing different things and players. And there you go. Just on screen, Cobra won the Ace of Bronze tournament. How cool is that? All right.
Got my 1 bronze and my 5 live irons.
Wow. Geez. You're going to have a Hulk-a-Mat team pretty soon with all those packs. All right. So let's start with the pitchers. Now,
sure.
For those of us that, play the game and we want better cards, but we don't understand the numbers, we get overwhelmed with all these numbers and charts and colors. There are people that have excellent minds in the game. And you pointed out to me yesterday that you want to preface this with, you're not an expert. You're not the pro. You're not guaranteeing people win thousands of packs, right?
No, not at all. And I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to a lot of people that have helped me along the way, who are very generous with their time, with their information, that understand the game. And when I say the game, I don't mean baseball, the game. I mean OOTP, the game. And it took me a while to understand that kind of little wrinkle of understanding the game and how it works and how the stats work and not stats, but the ratings work and how you put together a team and how you kind of evaluate players. Guys like Kidneys and RDT and Snailman and Christophorus and I was on the with Charles and Mike when he was playing on their Warbot stream, and I can't thank them enough for helping me out and just with their time and just kind of their advice and their information, what to look at, what not to look at. And I would also be remiss not to say a really nice thank you to DRC and Angry Unicorn when they were doing the streams, because that's where I'm looking at that data and saying, hey, maybe I can do that with Excel. And I started off really slow and just doing basic stuff. And, now I'm putting together a lot of this stuff. So that's kind of the evolution of where I started to where I am now.
Okay, excellent. And when I was talking to Cobra, if you can just turn your volume down a bit, Cobra, because we're getting a little bit of echo.
Yeah.
When I was talking to Cobra, I mentioned let's present this again from kind of a beginners to statistical analysis perspective, because again, we don't want to lose everyone by going too in depth. This is kind of like an intro to Ace of Bronze and looking at a huge number of games that have been played. So let's break down the pictures. What do you want to mention, first of all, about the categories or what this chart is kind of showing us?
Okay, so this one is the way I broke it down is I collect the data from the bronze tournaments that I play every day. And I play between 12 and 15 a day, except for the other day where I tried to double that because I was getting kicked out in round one for some reason. I don't know why. But so what I do is I just gather the data, put it into I'm using Excel. So I'm gathering the data and I do pitching, hitting, and fielding. So what this is basically sorted by number of innings pitched. Yeah, innings pitched. This is innings pitched. So these are a grand total of players that are used, and a lot of these will look familiar. So I broke it down by games started, relief appearances, just basic in this chart, ERA, the FIP, just to kind of see where they're at for a league average. Now this is everyone combined. I did the XFIP is the way that OOTP calculates it, which is I put it in there for an example, and it's a little off. It's almost a half a point off. So I don't know what they're doing or what their difference. And I do walks per 9, Ks per 9, innings pitched per game. Just on this chart right here, and kind of shows you what their ground ball percentage, their leverage index, and then their save percentage. If you look at the chart a little to the left, it'll show the number of relief appearances versus the number of games started. So that's kind of the way that I look at it. Who's pitching where, who's not pitching, where's a good place to put them. Some guys are, like Larry Christensen, he's a lot of games started, not many relief, or you got a guy like Twitchell or maybe even Joe Gibbon that are mixed, and like Sam Jones, he's kind of in the middle. And so it's just just some basic stats. And if you can start doing that with the bronze stuff, you can do it in silver or gold or diamond or whatever tournament you play. But it gives you a little bit, for me, it just gives me a visualization of who's playing well, who's not. And I'm not a modeler. I don't know how to model. I've had people explain it to me for 15 minutes, and I conceptually understand it. I just don't know how to put it into practice, which I probably could if I took more time. But I'm old school. I'm under the old school where, what have you done for me lately? So, if the guy has a 10 ERA or he has a 2 ERA, I'm going to play the guy with the 2 ERA, based on innings pitched or games or whatever it may be.
Okay. And again, for those that are kind of new, I think we got some echo again. For those that are kind of new to statistical analysis and charts, what Cobra has here is the top 15 pitchers that he has come across. And this is information from all the tournaments that he's played in. So he's drawn all these numbers from things that he's participated in. Of course, there would be tons and tons more from the tournaments he wasn't in. So we see Christensen with close to 70,000 innings pitched, which indicates that he is a very popular pitcher in Ace of Bronze tournaments. Color-wise, if you're not familiar, green, the darker the green, the better it is for that category. The darker the red, the worse it is for that category. Some use blue, some use, different colors, but you want to see those dark green numbers for the success in that category. So Cobra, based on this analysis then, For the average or below average statistical person, what is this telling us? What is it showing us overall about these 15 pitchers? Who are the good ones? Who are the bad ones?
Because you can't break it down left versus right, right versus left, and you can't break it down, and I mean, to where, okay, here's the game started, here's his innings pitch for game started, here's his relief. It's kind of all consolidated together. What I look for is ERA. I look for FIP. Then I look at, okay, this guy started a lot of games. Why is he starting? I'll look at walks per nine, Ks per nine, and then I look at innings pitched per game. So Larry Christensen averages 55.2 innings per game, and I broke it down into, I converted the innings pitched to the third so that it does it. And then I look at ground ball percentage, and what that correlates to is how I set the sliders. So, and like, sliders for as far as pitch round or infield shift, outfield depth. And then the leverage index, I don't do too much with that in starters, but I do it in my relievers, who's getting the leverage index and what's their save percentage. Where you get a guy that has a super high, leverage index, but then he's got a really bad save percentage. And these are just basic stats that I put together, just to kind of show just an overall. These aren't all the ones that I collect, but these are just for, dumbing it down a little bit, just for, just a quick view.
And so based on, again, based on the view, volume down a little bit there. Based on what I see here, looks like Wayne Twitchell, because he has the lot of green in the last two categories. He's a guy you want as your stopper. Is that, am I reading that right? Again, just kind of from that beginner perspective.
He would be a stopper or a middle reliever, depending on how you want to use him and how you set your sliders up and who else is available. He's a righty, obviously. And everyone, I see people use him as a stopper and middle relief. Sometimes they use him as a starter. I use him as a stopper, middle reliever. It just depends on, just kind of how he's doing. And I'll break it down into this is overall, and then I'll break it down into last 5 tournaments played and see how he's doing. So I'll say, okay, here's my comparison from the overall. Here's his comparison to the last 5 tournaments, or the last 5 days, I should say, last 5 days, not tournaments. But I love Clay Bryant, and everyone uses him, and he's kind of, just a great card. Good stuff, good movement, not the best control, but that's where you make your adjustments in the sliders, and when you do it, whether you do it in first through 6, 1 or 7, 8 or 9, is where you adjust the sliders and where you have your global sliders, and that's where you adjust the sliders. And I think the sliders help a little bit. I may be wrong. I don't know how much you get, a 5% here, 10%. I don't know the difference, not that in depth, but I love Clay Bryant as a starter. Christensen, you got to look at their stamina. A lot of different factors go into kind of picking who you want. But overall, in bronze, you see a lot of right-handed starters, and you'll see some lefties too, but predominantly it's right-handed starters and left-handed bullpens.
Okay. And again, just looking at the chart, we see Aaron Harang, the 3rd most innings pitched, but a lot of red. So your analysis would say, don't use Aaron Harang as a starter. Am I correct in that?
From what I see, I wouldn't use him, and I don't use him. But some people do, and they get good results from it. But based upon overall statistics from all the tournament data that I've gathered, that's where he's at. So that tells me that, he's not as good as other pitchers. But maybe he is, but maybe it's just. But this is a lot of innings pitched. So
yeah,
you kind of go what you see.
Okay, and again, just for our beginners like myself, give us, based on just what you see here, your top 2 starters. who would you say just on the overall? I know it's probably tough to do because, righty, lefty, sliders, all that, but just based on these stats, who would you definitely use as 2 of your 5 starters?
I'm going to get some kickback on this, but I like Traxel and I like Bryant and Christensen, so I'd have to go with 3.
Okay. Traxel, Bryant, and Christensen. So 2 of the platinum cards, and then one that most people use is Christensen. Okay.
Yeah, I get good results out of all 3 of them. Good and bad, okay. I should say. Good and bad.
And of course, you set pitch counts properly, I would imagine.
Well, properly is kind of I don't know if I'd use that term, but I try to set them where I think they'll do well.
Okay. Do you use it based on the numbers we see for innings pitched per game? Do you kind of calculate that in?
Yeah, I look at that, and on my full data sheet, I have pitches per game too, so I see the average of pitches per game as well.
Okay. All right.
So I kind of
anything else on the pitch? Anything else before we move on to the batters that you want to mention, Cobra, about the pitchers?
No, I mean, a lot of it is just, look, and there's pitchers that are on here that play really well that don't have the number of innings, obviously. Use them as relievers or starters or middle relievers or stoppers or closers, whatever you want to do. But it's just I think a lot of it has to do with getting a little more in depth and setting your sliders the right way and when to do it, when not to do it. And, do you override or do you just adjust to the team? So there's a lot of different factors in what you're doing. And like I said, I'm not an expert at this. I'm just kind of doing.
Well, yeah, this is fantastic. And I know that Cobra has, many more players and many more pitchers that are part of this analysis, but he just went kind of with the top 15 in terms of innings pitched. And any of the viewers out there, if you have any questions for Cobra about pitchers in bronze tournaments, pitchers that you're wondering about, he might be able to quickly draw up a conclusion about that pitcher. So feel free, post any questions that you have about bronze tournaments in the chat. All right, let's move on to your hitter chart. And these are a lot of hitters that are very popular in bronze tournaments. A lot of them I use and you use, obviously. Where do you want to start with the hitters?
Well, everyone uses Chipper Jones. So, I mean, I don't use Chipper Jones. I use Moncada. Just based upon the numbers, and like I said, I'm old school batting average. That tells me a lot. Chipper produces OPS, slugging, WOBA. I mean, bat art. He's got phenomenal numbers, but he hasn't. For me, on my two teams that I use most of the time, I'll use Moncada and I'll use Chipper kind of, here and there. I call it my farm team, where I test players out and test different lineups out. I may not win a tournament, but I get data from them to see how they do. That's kind of my farm team. And I don't use it all the time, but it's a way to test guys out without having to set, your 3 entries in there and see how they do, because the ballpark factors are all the same. So you're going to, there's no randomness in the ballpark factors. It's always the same. So you can kind of look at their observed data and say, okay, yeah, this guy hits well, he doesn't hit well. Obviously, if they have enough plate appearances or, they have enough at bats.
Yeah, I agree. I don't use Chipper Jones as well. I use him he is on my roster, but more of a reserve. I use Moncada too at third base. A lot of people, as you can see, though, over 154,000 plate appearances. And, when I look at tourney results, many tournaments, Chipper Jones does very well for teams. He's a
great card.
Yeah. And other tournaments, he bottoms out. And so that, results in that 258 batting average that you have. So it's kind of risk reward, isn't it, with Chipper Jones?
Mm-hmm. He hits bombs and, gets on base. But if you look at yellow-green, that's what I look at, yellow-green. Do they get on base? Do they drive them over, drive them in?
Okay. And who else do you want to kind of focus on here with the batter? Well, let's go maybe through the categories for those that aren't familiar with them.
Yeah, it just plate appearances, batting average, on base plus slugging. On base percentage is I look at on base because if you got a guy like who's the third? I think the third one is who's the third one? I think is that Covington?
Yeah, Covington.
Okay, yeah. So Covington's the third, but look at that batting average and look at the OP. He drives guys in. He hits home runs, hits doubles, hits gaps, but he doesn't get on base because he doesn't walk a lot. So you got to kind of take, the good with the bad. And it's, UBRs is base running, so you got to crank that down.
Okay. And UBR, maybe explain a little bit about what UBR is.
Ultimate base running, where you have a kind of a compilation of different stats, stolen bases, base running, and so I just go off what OOTP uses because they don't provide enough for the stats to kind of make the
just wait there, Cobra. I guess we're in an ad break here, so we'll just pause for another 50 seconds. Thanks for Lud for pointing that out. So when we come back, I'll re-ask you about the UBR because I think that's where the ads kicked in.
Okay.
And then once we finish the batters, we'll go through a few questions that are in chat there, and then we'll move on to the defense.
Do you want me to show you my I have all my stats. That if you want to see all the stats, you want to do a screenshot of that real quick?
Yeah, I can throw that up quickly if you put it in Discord.
Okay. So I'll do the hitter stats right here. So this is what I collect.
Okay. So once we come back, we're back from the ad break already. Yeah, sorry guys, I missed the announcement of that last ad break. So we are back from the ads. And when we left off, we were talking about the hitters, and the question I asked just before or during the ads was for Cobra to explain a little bit more about UBR. So I'm going to let him talk for a minute while I look for another chart that he sent me. So go ahead, Cobra.
Yeah, UBR. So it kind of is a compilation of base running and steals, and how do they do? Obviously, Covington doesn't steal well. Mueller doesn't steal well. Doesn't run bases well. But you get a guy like Ozzie Smith or Joe Morgan or Delino, and the UBR, I normalized it to 1,200 at that. So if you do 600, or if you normalize data 600 or 1,200, just it's how you like to look at the number. And I like to look at a bigger number so I can see it on the graph. And that's just, guys you want to have run, guys you don't want to have run.
Okay. And while I'm down taking your last screen grab here, looking at the chart again, Covington looks like by far a must-have. Same with Raw Deer. Would you say that of all the hitters that you're showing there, those are the must-to-haves?
Absolutely.
Okay. And talk a little bit about the catchers and, what we're looking for when we add our bronze catchers. Anything specific that might make one stand out over another?
Pags is one, Kendall's one, Salkeld's one, Jocko Milligan I've seen a lot more too. I don't have a good grasp on what catcher ability does as far as how much of it does it make. I think the bronze is more of a hitting league than a pitching league because obviously you see the high ERAs and FIPS, and you don't have guys in the 2s and 3s. It's all in the 4s and 5s. So I kind of try to focus on who's the best hitter, who's gonna get on base, who's gonna drive them in, who's gonna walk a lot, or who's got a good eye and who's got a good BABIP that puts the ball in play, because these aren't gold glovers you're looking at here. So half of them aren't. Some of them are, but some of them aren't. And so I just kind of incorporate real world stuff and game stuff to kind of go through. But now this is the chart of what I collect. So this is kind of a detailed version of the top 25 guys, you know, and all the different categories that, you know, I use. These are based upon plate appearances too. So WOBA, WAR, OVP, you know, bad art, average OPS, WOBAs, you know, pitches per plate appearance, and the BABIP, the OPS, slugging, you know, how many home runs per at bat, they ground and double plays, they walk a lot. So this is kind of my chart that I use. Here's their stolen bases. You know, do I need to crank the slider down, crank the slider up, and just kind of look at it that way. That's kind of how I evaluate it. I know it's a lot of information to look at, but
yeah, that's a lot to pour through. And how are you finding in the Ace of Bronze in terms of stealing versus caught stealing? Are you noticing that, you know, for the most part, sliders need to be turned way down in base running?
I'm a little more conservative, so I do turn it down a little bit. A couple guys, I'll click it up a little bit, but my philosophy is you don't want to run yourself out of a game. So that's why I'm a little more conservative.
Okay. And other than Deere and Covington, give us the next must-have player on a Ace of Bronze team for the hitters.
That's a tough one. I would say Mueller's one because he's versatile. He can play third and second. Jasso's good because he gets on base. He drives and runs. Those are probably the two. I mean, and there's a lot to pick from, you know, but these are just the top 25 for plate appearances. So everyone's using them in a different fashion or different part of the lineup, or, you know, and a lot of it I do on feel, like who do I feel is going to do well, and I try them out. And if they do well, I keep them in. If they don't, I take them out.
Okay. And yeah, that's how I build my team, is based on feel and looking at, you know, maybe 5 or 6 kind of recent results and switching a few players in and out. It's more feel than pouring over stats. And we're getting a few questions, and let's go on to anything else with the hitters first of all before we move to defense.
No, I mean, you know, like I said, right-handed a dominant starter, left-handed fairly dominant in the bullpen. So you just kind of figure it out, you know. And a lot of the Ace of Bronze is just random luck. It's just how the RNG works. If you get lucky, you win a few in a row, or you win a couple here, you know. And the object is obviously to get packs, because that one pack might get you the Ty Cobb, or it might get you the Mike Schmidt, or, you know. But I just enjoy collecting the data and just kind of looking at it, and whether it's right or wrong, I play who I think is going to put the best team together and win for me.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, I could stare at this and analyze it for, you know, a couple hours. There's just so much to kind of pour through here. Well, let's move on to your defense chart, and then we'll get to some of the questions in the chat. So go through a little bit what we're looking at here.
Okay, now this for me, when I was talking with laptop yesterday, I had center fielders in there, and that really isn't a good metric or a good, you know, context for fielding. So what I do is I collect fielding data. I collect what's called the biz bucket. So like you have routine plays, likely plays, even plays, then you have unlikely, remote. And I left out impossible because it just kind of, you get a couple here and there. I just didn't really want to add it. So I put in the shortstops. These are the top shortstops. And so I go by defensive innings played, total chances. And then the biz rank is what I do. It's kind of my own little ranking system. Is I add together the routine balls, likely, even, unlikely, remote. And then what I do is I add a ranking system for what's their range, what's their air, and what's their arm. And I add that in because those are all combinations of, you know, who the best defensive players are. But in the bronze, defense matters. I think it matters not as much as you think it does, but I could be wrong. But just based upon, this, you kind of look and say, hey, who are the best fielders that are going to make the plays for you, and who isn't going to make the plays for you? And like I said, this is a work in progress for me because I don't understand the defense as much as I probably should.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, we see Ozzie Smith, and then there's everyone else. I mean,
Yeah.
Ozzie Smith by far is the most used shortstop in your set of data here.
I don't use Ozzie either.
Oh, okay. You go with one of the top two here. You've got Ordonez and you've got Brendan Ryan as the two best defensive shortstops. So are you more of a defensive guy?
I'm kind of in the middle where I use Bridwell and Buck Weaver.
Okay.
And Bridwell surprised me when I put this together, this updated one this morning. That surprised me that he is that low. So that I may have to adjust some things. Yeah.
Little inside information. I use Bridwell as well. So
yeah,
I'm one of the guys.
Yeah. So do you kind of offset hitting with the defense? But I was surprised at his ratings that he's that low, that surprised me.
Yeah. And he is on your hitting chart. He's at the very bottom of your list here. And again, we can see how he does offensively.
Yep.
And you're sacrificing based on the chart. But again, as Cobra said, he may have to rerun some numbers. Defensively, he's number 13.
Yeah. And this is a work in progress for me, like I said. So I'm just trying to, get the right stuff, that I think will work, and, get an accurate assessment of, are they really that, are they really that bad, or is it just kind of lucky that they're not? So.
And what I've noticed too is the Plat 4 cards really changed the Ace of Bronze tournament, because so many of them are almost must have in the game. Plat 3 and Plat 4, when those came out. So those managers that kind of created a team early, in May or June and just let it sit and haven't made any changes, they're probably at a disadvantage, because I would say the changeover is quite a bit significant, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Little Larry used to be the go-to guy. I mean, he was the guy that you played at short, as a backup or start, and then you could play him at third as well too.
Yeah, and Frank Mantilla as well was another one.
Yep, Felix Mantilla. Yep, because he can play left, right, second, short. I think he plays third too. So, but he's got a great bat against lefties. But I took him out because the pitching predominance is mostly right. So, try to offset that with the opposite side hitter. Left versus right versus right versus right.
Right. So let's get to a couple questions. Really, Vanilla Gorilla asks about Harry Howell. So we've got the chart up here. He is the second most used in terms of innings pitched. Mm-hmm. Just an overall impression about Harry Howell and his usefulness.
I put him back in the rotation, and he doesn't do as well for me in the rotation as he does in the pen. And I think because he has a little bit of reverse splits, that he does a little better in the pen. This is me personally. For me, in the pen, he's done better than he does as a starter. And that may be where I put him in the rotation too, versus lefty righty. So, and that's a big factor too. Where do you start these guys? Do you start them at, is your number 1, is your number 3, number 5? Where do you put him in the rotation?
Bingo. I can confirm that for me, he works much better in the pen than he does as a starter. Exactly.
Because he gets that boost in the pen, that stuff boost, and I think that helps him.
Yeah, good point. Phil B asks, how do you like Alvarez? How well he does well for him?
Alvarez, he's better in the pen than he does for starting for me. And I don't know why, because I'd really like to use him as a starter. but you're facing predominantly right-handed hitters, you know, maybe he's a number 2 guy or number 5 guy versus a number 1 or a number 3, just due to the fact that who is he going to face, you know, based upon, you know, lineups and, you know, do you want lefty righty or do you want righty righty? And, you know, the fatigue level is another thing too, because how fast do these guys drop? And I've noticed lately, and I don't know, and you and I talked about this, about the update, if anything has changed on fatigue, because some of my hitters are going 5-6 games in a row and not getting subbed out, which is really odd, because, and it could be the catcher, it could be the first baseman, it could be the left fielder. They're not getting subbed out. And I'll go tournaments where I'll get knocked out in the first or second round, and I'll have a couple guys that only started 1 or 2 games, and some of them don't start any games and you get no plate appearances.
Okay, so next question we have is regarding the hitters. How do you like Mike Benjamin? He is that low-level iron. Are you going to be risky enough to play Benjamin in the bronze tournaments?
Me, no. I think maybe in a different format, maybe like in a low bronze or a cap tournament, he would be good because he's got such great defense, and I think he's got really good gap power too. But in a straight, you know, ace of bronze, I don't use him, and I don't think I've ever tried him. I don't know if anybody's ever used him. I can tell you if anybody's ever used him.
And that's the beautiful thing, is Cobra can pull up his Mike Benjamin statistics here and let us know how many plate appearances in this set of tournament data. Thank you again for everyone that's following and watching, over 190 of you. Remember that there is one more giveaway. We will be doing a giveaway in about 20 minutes to end off the stream. Got a few more minutes here with Cobra. And then Cobra is going to play a little game with me that I like to play every once in a while. We talked about it yesterday. So stay tuned, guys, for the last giveaway. Thank you again for the recent follows. Sudsy Pandas, Twitchy McTroll, and DJOIST. Thank you guys for the follow. That is 485. Yes, 85. 1985 was a good year. Yes. All right. You got any Mike Benjamin data for us?
0. In all of my tournaments, he does not appear.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Which makes sense. He would be your iron meta, probably shortstop. I know a lot of people use him in iron. All right.
Yep.
Next question we have is, again, really Vanilla Gorilla asks, is Plat 1 Ozzie Smith an asset in Ace of Bronze?
I think it's personal preference, but yeah, I mean, he's a good player. I mean, I wouldn't hit him third, but yeah, I mean, people think look at his rankings. He's, does fairly well, and you have to look at this Ray Ordonez is #1 shortstop, but he only has 12,000 defensive innings played, where Ozzie Smith has almost 300,000.
Yeah. And I agree. He's my backup. He's my second shortstop with Bridwell. I have both of those. I used to have Davey Force, the limited edition card, early in the cycle, but he soon got surpassed by a lot of these better cards.
He can hit. He can hit. Get on base, but his defense will hurt you.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so any other kind of hidden gems, kind of to end off this part of the stream here, anything else that you want to pass along? I know you're working on some other projects and you're getting really deep into this analysis, but is there any other player or, someone that's just been on your mind in terms of the players to use in these tournaments that you're trying out and seeing some success with?
On my farm team, I'll stick in Kimbrough. He doesn't hit for average, but he, his defense is good, and he he gets on base. I mean, the guy just gets on base. I mean, it's insanity how he does it. But, you know, that, and he steals bases too. Kimbrough's one. Who else is kind of a hidden gem for hitters? Well, Moncado, I just like Moncado. I really do. I like Nick Asaski too. Jasso I like. You know, those are kind of the you know, kitchen table names that everyone knows. And that's kind of who you play because they perform well, you know. But it's tournament to tournament. You win some, you lose some. You know, you get round ones, you get round fives. So
Yeah, that's very cool. I know when the Negro 2 League players came out, I tested a lot of those, like your Clarence Smith, and then I forget the catcher's name, but I tested him out as well. They didn't last long in my lineup, but they did okay. Platform Moncada I used from the night he came out. I bought him on the card shop, put him into my lineup. I just had a feeling about him. Like I said, a lot of times it comes down to feel of the players. I think the big difference between our teams, Cobra and my bronze team, is you tend to still use outfielder. Who did we talk about yesterday?
Oh, Grady Sizemore.
Right, Sizemore. And I used Robin Yount and had, you know, pretty good success hitting wise with Yount. So, but again, there's probably not a lot of difference between those two players.
Yeah, and the reason why I like Grady is because he's versatile. He can play left, center, and right.
Right, good point. Another question from Really Vanilla Gorilla. Do the data from bronze dailies vary from the data in any, or from the Q data in any noticeable way?
What's the Q data? Oh, the quicks? I only play the Ace of Bronze. That's all I play.
Okay.
So
yeah. So
I
this
don't
is
know
strictly.
I don't know I don't know what the dailies, because I think the dailies. Yeah, I don't play dailies, so I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Okay. So yeah, this is strictly Ace of Bronze. This is not, you know, any of the other tournaments, low bronze or anything like that. This is strictly if you're going to play Ace of Bronze. All right. Anything else here, Cobra, that you wanted to mention in kind of closing for this segment?
Do you have that screenshot of that little project I'm working on?
Yeah, I can bring that up if you want to just kind of talk about it a little bit while I go and grab that.
Well, this is something that I'm working on, and it's a tool. It's a comparison tool, and there's a lot of data there, and I mean, there's almost too much data there. But what it does is it compares two players together, and I'm probably going to add a few more, but it's in beta. And what I'm doing, and I kind of got this idea from Angry Unicorn, because he had put together that, I mean, just outstanding stream where he would rank the players and put all the data in there. And I'm not a wizard at Excel. I can get by, and you know, I can do the, you know, the get pivot data and the X lookups. And so I just kind of put this little thing together. It's still in beta. It's a work in progress of how you compare two players. So let's say you have 2 second basemen you want to check out, let's say, like, or a third baseman or short or left or whatever position you want to do. And you just kind of put it in. And what I've done is I've taken the top 100 of players that are in Ace of Bronze. And bronze is kind of limited. And you could use this really for any tournament, you know, you play, whether it be, you know, perfect draft or players. And, you know, so what I do is it's sorted by, you know, the CID, obviously. So then it just pulls them up, and it kind of gives you a comparison where they rank, you know, what their stats are for the bronze. You know, where do they play? And I'm going to add a few more things, you know, winning teams, how many winning teams do they play on? K percentage, BABIP, you know, and how they rank and they compare against each other. And what you see in the middle line, and like I said, it's work in progress, is the difference between the top and the bottom player. You know, are they, you know, 2 percentage points better? Are they 5 percentage? Are they 100% better? You know, how do how well do they do? So like is that West, or is that is it Hamlin?
This is last night I asked him to compare Bob Hamlin at first base compared to Jocko Milligan, who is a catcher but can also play first base. So these are those two.
Yep. So this is the data from just the Ace of Bronze, and this is where they rank in, just how they rank, of the top 100.
And so what do these numbers tell us about the better of the two players?
If you're looking strictly at hitting, just batting average, OBP, actually, if you slide to the right a little bit, to the right.
Yeah,
this is where the meat and potatoes, hit the plate, is because this is how they score runs. So you've got, runs created, the BADR. Got to go back just a little bit.
And yeah, Jocko Milligan is a guy that I use. I use him at first base, I think, against the lefties. And I might have him
right there.
against the ladies. I can't remember exactly where I have him, but I've had a lot of success with Jocko Milligan. And I also still have Bob Hamlin because he's a masher. He hits the home runs.
So look at like your wins run created, your WRC right there. Okay, so the WOBA, he's 4, and Jocko is what? Yep, right there. Yep, right there. Oh. Well, it'll just tell you how they rank. So I just rank them, based upon the number.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a cool project that you're working on there, and I'm sure the community is going to look forward to that, and making them accessible and things like that. And yeah, no, this has been fun. It's been very educational. We chatted for a long time last night, and it's funny how you meet people in many different ways, and even both of our backgrounds, growing up and playing goalie and hockey and sharing some stories of that. It was very, very cool to have that conversation. Any kind of closing comments? Again, you kind of mentioned the project you're working on, but anything else, Cobra, that you wanted to mention?
No, I mean, I just enjoy baseball. I grew up playing baseball. I played baseball till I was 40, softball and competitive leagues. I played at a pretty high level when I was younger. I just love baseball. I love the stats. I just enjoy talking baseball. It's just, for me, it's enjoyable, and as you get older, you kind of start to realize that, hey, what's enjoyable life, and you want to do it. So you just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, exactly. And we are going to have a giveaway in just a few minutes after our last break that's coming up in about 8 to 10 minutes. But I want to end off with Cobra with a game I like to play every once in a while. And we'll get kind of a second opinion here. And this game, as you well know, is called Gouge or Not to Gouge.
Okay, so ready? I'm ready. Gouge.
You're ready. So I've just kind of filtered down to all players that are selling over 400,000 perfect points right now. So let's take a look at just a couple here. Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth is currently on the market for $499.99. Gouge or not gouge?
Not gouge.
Fair price. Yeah, he's come down quite a bit with all the new cards that have come out. So that seller is listing him for a very fair price.
Now, if you go to that Martin Perez, I have him on one of my alts. I'm going to list him for $544,999. So then I'm not gouging because I'm below the highest seller.
So Martin Perez selling for $545.
That's a little gouging.
That's a little gougy. All right. Well, we do have an ad break coming up here, so stay tuned, guys. I want to thank Cobra for coming on stream and sharing that data with us, and I'm sure that he's going to put a lot more together feel free to use the cards he suggested or I suggest, and good luck in your Ace of Bronze tournaments. We'll talk to you soon, Cobra.
All right, thanks. Talk to you later.
All right, welcome back for our closing little segment here, short little segment. And again, I want to thank Cobra for being back on, and good luck for everyone that is in their tournaments. And LiQWYD just got booted from 3 tournaments in 10 minutes. Yeah, it happens to the best of us. It really does. And I think we can all echo the statements from Really Vanilla Gorilla that it was awesome information that Cobra passed along. And as a not a really big in-depth stats guy, I learned a lot from what Cobra went through. So Cobra, once again, if you're listening, thank you. And I know I'm not, David Letterman and Carson and all those guys that give away things to their guests and can give you all those things. I remember from the 80s and 90s, it'd be like, and for being a guest on the Carson Show, you get this nice Timex watch. Well, I can't do that to my 2 guests, to Matt and to Cobra today. But Cobra, maybe at some point in time, I can pass along to you one of your favorite Canadian brands of chips or types of chips, and that is ketchup. Yes, I know how much you enjoyed the ketchup chips when you visited Western Canada. Oh yeah, we had a good laugh at that, and we were talking everything from baseball to hockey to everything in between. So thank you again, Cobra, for showing up and being part of the stream. Well, guys.